Hello, everyone. Welcome to what used to be the 21 Hats podcast and is now the Business Advantage TV podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. This week, we caught up with three of our regulars and talked about what's working and what's not working as they try to get back to some semblance of normality. One recurring theme, a lot of employees have gotten used to working at home and they kind of like it. A couple of our owners aren't so sure. But then we moved on to another topic and things got a little heated. I quoted from an opinion piece that ran in the Morning Report last week. In it, Gene Marks, an entrepreneur, wrote that competent business owners shouldn't have had to go begging shamelessly for a government bailout, meaning the Paycheck Protection Program loans. All three of my guests took PPP loans, but the comment irked one of them in particular. If you've been listening to this podcast, you probably know which one. Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations will, if nothing else, let owners know they are not alone in facing these challenges. This week's podcast lineup features Jay Goltz, whose businesses in Chicago include a picture frame shop, artist frame service, and a home furnishing store, Jason Home. William Vanderbloemen, who is CEO of Vanderbloemen Search Group, a recruiting firm based in Houston that works with churches and other faith-based organizations. And Dana White, who is CEO of Paralee Boyd, a chain of hair salons based in Detroit. This episode is titled, Do You Feel Shame Taking Money from the Government? Let's start with a quick update on where all of your businesses stand. How about you, Dana? Tell us what's going on with Paralee Boyd.
Paralee Boyd is doing okay. We've had some last minute outbreaks with coronavirus with families. So we've got some people on the beginning and some on the end of their 2-week quarantine.
You're talking about employees?
Yes, not me. Employees.
But you're not open yet, right?
No, but we can be, but I've decided to wait, and we just figured out what that opening date was today. Now that we know that everybody's tests are in, we know who's sick and who's not. And so now that we know who's sick, we know how much time we need in order to open. So I'll be sending that email out probably tomorrow, letting all of our guests know when we will be back open.
When did it become okay for you to open?
June 15th.
What date are you thinking?
July 6th.
What are you going to do about the employees who are sick? Are you going to have to test your employees?
Yeah, all of my staff are being tested anyway before they come back. So before they come back. So none of my employees are sick, but either their children or the parent they live with are sick.
So it's in the house.
In the house, right? And they're helping with care. So they're all quarantining in the home. So what we're going to do is just everybody's being tested anyway to come back. And then we're just going to have them test to make sure that they're negative. And then we're probably going to I'm going to see how many tests we're allowed to do because I wanted to do it every 2 weeks. And then getting that team in place to come and sanitize the salon after we started probably once a week. So there's a lot of moving parts to opening a salon that a lot of salons aren't doing. Right. And so it's a lot of, they think, oh, I'll put on gloves and a face mask and we'll be okay. No, sweetie, there's more to it than that now that Michigan is having a spike.
When you say you want to see how often you're allowed to do the tests, allowed by whom? What are you referring to?
So Oakland County and Wayne County, the city of Detroit, have been really great about helping businesses get reopened. So they're allowing us to go and our staff get free testing at sites in the counties. And so I don't know if you're only allowed to do one. I don't know if you're allowed to do two. I'll find out. And if you are only allowed to do one, what is the cost of a second one, especially when we have people coming back on the tail end of a quarantine?
I didn't realize Michigan was spiking again. How bad is it?
Not bad. It's not Texas or Arizona or Florida, but you're seeing some of the Memorial Day cases start to come to fruition. It's what happened with my employee's son. He said, oh, the ban is lifted early June. So he and some friends hopped in a car and drove to Florida, Miami, and just spread it on their way back up. And by the time he came back, he was sick.
William, I think Dana just gave you a call out there. She mentioned Texas, and I believe you guys have been setting a record every day the last few days.
We set records every day, all the time. Lauren, that's what Texans do. Our airport is not even an international airport. It's an intercontinental airport. I don't know what that even means, but no, we're setting records.
And what does that mean for you?
Nothing. Nothing at all, actually. Even the most conservative churches in town are opening up with some really creative things. What I'm seeing in my little corner of the world is, yes, a rise in cases, but our numbers in ICU are actually dropping rather significantly, and the hospital intake that's happening is on general floors and not ICU. It's not as dire as some would say. Now, I think out in the west part of the state where a lot of meatpacking plants, it's different. I think inmates in prisons, it's very, very different and unfair. But for the business world that we're working in, I'm not seeing a lot of change.
Are you going back into the office? What percentage of capacity would you say you're operating at?
Great question. So I'm in my office now. It's funny, you guys saw it I've set up my little bunker in my house and loved it, and really kind of mourned packing it up and bringing stuff back up here. And I told Adrian this week was my first week back in the office, and I kind of bemoaned having to come up here. And then I got home, and last night over dinner, I said, Adrian, I got more done when I was at work than when I was at home. She said, yeah, well, that's not surprising, William. That's what I've been saying. So and she likes me. So we're at about, so we have A team and B team. So that if we have a positive test, we can just quarantine the B team, tell them not to come back.
But you haven't had any positives so far?
Not yet. We're about 25% capacity. We could be higher if we wanted. We decided to wait until after the 4th. Most of our work can be done fairly well remotely. We don't have the issues that Jay and Dana face of having to have real storefront quite as much. So July 6th, we were just going over this with staff. We'll go back to everyone in the office. And we're still limiting travel for our consultants. That'll start in August.
Are you getting any pushback? Everybody happy to come back into the office, or are people?
Not at all. People are complaining quite a bit.
Based on concerns about health?
Yes. I don't want to come back to an office. We have a great team, and complain is probably too strong a word. But so don't put that in the little blurb to get people to read the morning report. But I'm actually running into this with several small business owners who do in-person that have great cultures and a high quotient of millennials. And they're very concerned about health. And then somewhere underneath that, and I don't know if this is true for our team, but the other small business owners I've talked to, somewhere underneath the health concern is I really like working from home. And I think I can still get my stuff done. So do I have to come back in? No one's saying that out loud, but it's an undercurrent in other businesses that I'm hearing. My people, what I'm hearing is we just want to be really careful. And I've got new mothers on staff that are worried about babies. And so I don't think it's a lack of desire to want to work.
Jay, do you have both of your companies open again?
Artist Frame Service is now open. People are coming in. We've got plexi shields hanging, and I got to tell you, people are coming in and happy to be in. My home store has been open. We're selling lots of plants. My wholesale business, Bella, selling to other frame shops, is getting orders now. And everybody's back to work, and I'm going through the last week of shifting the factory, doing staggered shifts because we're doing enough business. We need everyone there. Now I have my CFO coming in. I have to give you the picture. I'm wearing a mask. He's wearing a mask. And he goes, yeah, listen, no one in accounting wants to come back to work. They want to work from home. So I have to say to him, Jim, my mouth is hanging open under my mask. Really? And so we're going to have to rethink that whole thing. And it's not that simple. There's lots of...
Why don't they want to come in?
Because they like staying home. It's like I keep thinking, okay, all right, we're almost back to normal now. I actually went out to lunch in an outdoor thing and felt like, oh my God, look, and I'm eating lunch outside. So I thought back to normal. So now I come back to this. I'm like, I can't wait to see what Monday brings me. It's like, yeah, they like to work out of home. Nice for them. Good for them. Keep in mind now, I'm not downtown. They don't have to pay for parking. Many of them live 7 minutes away, so it's not like, oh my God, I don't have to sit in the traffic for an hour and a half. It's so we're looking at it all, but What do you do about new employees that need to be trained? What about, so here I am almost by myself in the office with my payable person, and like no one else is here. And I have to call the CFO every couple. It's not ideal. So with that being said, I recognize that with the internet, with computers, the world's changed. Some of this we can do from home. So I'm keeping an open mind to it. But
I've been reading a lot about, people discovering how productive everybody can be working from home. There's been a lot of happy talk about how eyes have been opened, and there's a whole new world here, and people are not going to be going back into their offices, and businesses are going to save money because they aren't going to need all of that commercial. And what I'm hearing here today is a little bit different.
What I found out this week about William Vanderbloemen is he does better work when he's at his office.
So my friend works for a major company here in Detroit, and they have found that their staff is a lot more productive from home. Projects are moving along faster. And they have been told they don't have to come back into the office until January, because that's just how well things are going, and they can save money on space. So
that story's been written a lot. I've seen a lot of that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I will guarantee you some professor at Harvard or somebody from somewhere is going to write this big article in 6 months or a year that says, oh my, wait, we thought we were going to save 7% in occupancy costs with our offices, but gee, it turns out that our output's down by 20% because there's a little bit of la-la land going on here. The fact of the matter is, what about when you've got employee turnover and they're not the same people that have been with you for 8 years? The brand new employee gets hired. Who's training them? And who's overseeing them?
You're getting me fired up, Jake. You need to come down here and sing. We have not added a staff person under these circumstances. And I want to see what onboarding looks like. And I think that we are in sort of a utopian la-la land, as you say. I mean,
well, I just hired 3 people virtually.
How'd that go?
It's going great. They're doing their training courses. They're where we can see how far along they've gone in training. We see where they've stumbled at.
These are stylists?
Well, we've done stylists virtually as far as they do their model via Zoom, and we're watching first things. But then we are, we're not going to stay with that because there's things we want to see up close. But I'm seeing that there are things that need to get done at Paralee Boyd before we open. And I'm not going to wait until we can all get together to do it. And I find that the hiring is going great.
Dana, why are you had expressed months ago on the podcast, I believe, that you had some concern about whether employees were going to want to come back or not. Are you hiring now because employees did not want to come back?
No, I'm hiring now because there's employees that we didn't want to come back. I am happy to say that over 90% of my staff are leaving their current job and are coming back because they loved working there.
Their current job, meaning that they found other employment during this period?
Yeah, but some of them didn't have the hours to get the full-time unemployment benefit that was, making everybody not want to come back. But and that ends in July. Everybody is ready to go July 6th.
You know what? I want to be very, very clear. I am sure in some cases, people that do computer programming, maybe graphic design, people that work in cities where the traffic's horrendous, people that pay $30 a day for parking, I am sure there are a lot of situations where this will work out great.
How about accounting?
I doubt it in my case.
Jay, how about people with small children in their house? Because I'm not seeing that work.
Right. Well, I'll give you the other one, which is I can't think of all of the great ideas that we've come up here with people sitting around talking. We've come up with these great advertising things or great ideas, collaborative thinking, collaborative talking, people working together. And then there's the bringing in the new employee. So a while ago, a couple of years ago, I had a new graphic designer, very talented, and I found out that half the day someone sat in her office crying. Literally, my other employees would go, do you know every time I go in there, she's crying? Like this person, unfortunately, was a complete mess. How would I know that if she was sitting home?
No, there's definitely a benefit to interpersonal communication and whatever. But I think the biggest thing I would challenge you guys with is if you have employees that are saying we'd rather stay at home, find out why. What is the culture in that department that makes them not prefer to come in? And it's not that they want to necessarily stay home with their kids. I mean, we've just coming on the heels of a pandemic. Everybody's, itching to get out. But if it's not something that you're offering and they're coming to ask you for it, I would wonder, what is it about this department or this work environment that is making people more comfortable staying at home than coming in on the end of a pandemic? Nobody asked me that. When I wanted to come stay at home, there was a reason why I didn't want to come into the office every day. Nobody cared. We like everybody talking to each other, eating lunch in the break room, stopping by each other's office and saying hi, having that interpersonal connection. There's a reason why I wanted to forego that, and there may be a reason why your accounting department wants to forego that.
That's a fair question. I would just tell people, after everything that's been going on for the last 12 weeks, I would suggest the best approach isn't to plop into your boss's office and go, hey, I want to keep working from home. I might suggest it'd be better to say, hey, how's it been working with me home? I think I've actually been some more productive in areas. I think I'd like to talk to you about maybe making some, just like do a little soft sell, just to go dump it. Cause I got to tell you, it's like really, it's soft sell.
But are you asking the question though? Are you saying,
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, get that far. There's something there. There's a reason why they feel better working at home on the end of a pandemic than coming into the office.
Well, listen, part of it is the pandemic, no question. I respect that. There are some people that are afraid of getting. Okay, fair enough. That's part of this. I'm just telling you.
Jay, have those accountants been working straight through during the pandemic from home?
My controller's been working straight through. The payable person comes in every couple days. My CFO's been home every day. Yeah.
And has it been okay?
I have to decide whether they'll be listening to this podcast or not.
They're not. They're definitely not. They told me.
Okay. You call someone, I won't mention names, and all of a sudden you're engaged in a conversation with their spouse that you really didn't necessarily want to have. And all of a sudden you find out that their spouse knows all about your business and they're giving you their input to it. And it's like now all of a sudden I don't have the person working for me. I got them and their spouse working for me.
But that's professionalism though. Like that's like, I think if you set up a work at home kind of dynamic or that's a conversation. Like that's what they're doing at my friend's company, right? Like they're saying, okay, now that you're going to be working home until January, here are the rules. This is how.
Okay, fair enough. If someone calls you and the caller ID says it's the company, please don't have anyone else answer the phone. Just let it go to message. Fair enough.
It's like going to an office party and somebody's spouse walks up to you and says, "Hey, Jay, about that new accounting software. My husband thinks it's awful." That's just unprofessional. No.
Here's my favorite one: holiday party. For those of us been married a long time, think of how this one comes off. Young woman walks up to the wife of the guy who's in charge and goes, "Oh my God, I love your husband. He's so easy to talk to." How do you think that goes over on the way home? Oh, you can't talk to me at home, but you seem.
I got it, but that just went, wow. I'm thinking of, okay.
If you were married for 30 years, trust me, you'd say to yourself, oh, that's not going to end well. And as expected, it didn't. He got the earful on the way home.
You speaking about a friend, Jay?
No, this was an employee who's no longer here. Here's the key. The key is this might be great for the employee, but you know what? How's it working for the company? Like sometimes it isn't just what's great for the employee. Sometimes it's like, okay, I get it's good for you. You can work in pajamas and you don't have to drive. Okay, great for you. How's that helping the company now that I can't walk by an office and make a quick comment or ask a question?
Well, as you acknowledged before, that there is still a medical issue. There is still a reason to be careful for the moment, sure. And there is an advantage to the company of having fewer people in the office.
Wait. Let me stop you on that. Not really. I don't own, I own this building. If they're in their office or they're not, I'm not paying for more office space. That's a fallacy that it's always saving money.
No, from a medical standpoint, I'm talking about.
Absolutely. For sure, the medical thing. Let's assume that the pandemic's going to go away at some point. Once we're back to some kind of normal without a pandemic, there's no great advantage to me to have to pick up the phone and call my employee every time I want to go, oh, by the way, did you pay the invoice for blah, blah. There's no big advantage for me in this whole thing.
Could be a while, though. William, I wanted to go back to you. You talked about the capacity you're up to now. I forget the exact number that you use, but what's limiting that? Is that self-imposed or are your clients not back in gear yet? Why are you at that point?
A little bit of both, but self-imposed would be the main reason. I mean, we as we've discussed on the podcast back in mid-March when this started to get clear, our business hinges on churches and schools and nonprofits. And so 2/3 of that, which is more than 2/3 of our business, churches and schools aren't meeting. So we had to recalibrate, and we recalibrated and set new second quarter ambitious but attainable goals. And we've hit all those. So it's not that clients aren't open. We've got plenty to do, and we've done all these sort of service projects on the side, like the PPP program and such. It's more us, and if I'm really honest, I'd rather see someone else pay the stupid tax of opening too soon, and I want to learn from somebody that goes a little quicker than us, because we can take our time a little. Like little things like, we're only on the 5th floor, but it does require an elevator. So how are we going to do that in a way that provides safety and peace of mind for our people, or break rooms, or the coffee pot, or, all that kind of stuff? I think we'll get there, but I am horrible at inventing wheels. I'm really good at improving other people's wheels. So I'm going to let some of the rest of the building open up first, and then bring our people back when I can learn from what they've done and improve.
I will tell you, I'm at the moment with the pandemic, stay home. It's clearly not work. Whatever problems I'm talking about are minimal compared to somebody getting sick. So until the pandemic's done, stay home, not a problem if they can. I'm not pushing it. I just long term, though, I don't know that I want to change the way the whole business works because somebody found out, I like not driving 7 minutes to work. I want to stay home.
But I just think you should stay open to the fact that there's a reason why they may. What they are not seeing.
There might be another reason that I'm not
I think outside of the pandemic, I think there may be another reason why, they don't see it through your eyes.
Well, if Laura was on here, she'd say because they hate me. So, all right, that could be the case. But Dana, you're way too nice to say that. So
no, I don't think it's because they hate you.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think it's they hate you, but I do think you're saying, hey, this is what I want. I'm the leader. Hey, it's me, so if I think we work better like this than we do, and I'm saying there's like a red flag in that accounting department where
and it is, and to this case, I have to tell you, there could be, because there is some tension in there between there. You might be onto something with that.
Dana, I have to ask you, now that you have an open date, we've spent a good bit of time talking about the pricing of your services. Have you made a decision about whether or not you're going to raise your prices when you reopen?
Absolutely. Day one, raising prices. Done.
Whoa.
Woo!
Yeah.
Graduation day.
I know.
You're going to go from $40 to
$50.
Good for you.
Yeah, I've talked to other stylists. I've talked to other business owners, and, their advice to me is, Dana, you haven't raised your prices in 7 years. What are you doing? Right?
It's basic math.
Yeah.
X amount of heads at 40. If you lost 20% of the people but got 50, your gross sales haven't gone down and you're working less. It's not brain surgery. It's just math.
So you've told your stylist and you didn't get any pushback from them?
No, they clapped.
That's when you know it's time to raise prices. You did tell us that you were concerned about how you would let your customers know about this. You wanted to let them know in advance and give them some time to let it sink in. Are you doing that? Are you still concerned about that?
Yes. So that the communication has not been my strongest point when it comes to my guests. So that'll be done through the weekend and over, the week leading up to opening. I want to do a video and email that out to my customers saying, this is what we're going to do to pick up where we left off going forward, and just some of the changes that they can expect seeing going forward, keeping them safe and our guests safe. But I am going to talk about the price increase. And I think, like Jay said, it's about not being afraid. I think a lot of business owners, as I was, nervous and afraid to do what you have to do to keep your business afloat. And it's not that, I needed to do it or my business was going to fail. Yeah, in time it was. But I have to remember I'm a businesswoman. Of the 21 hats we wear, that could be the one hat that we forget. We become the employer first. We become the social worker sometimes, but the businesswoman in regards to making and earning money, that hat can be, put away. So I had to dust it off and say, how could Pearlie Boyd better fit? And Pearlie Boyd, after 7 years, needs to raise her prices $10 so she can make money because I'm a businesswoman and that's what I'm here to do. It's not my sole purpose, but it is the purpose. I am not a nonprofit.
Sometimes we are a nonprofit. That's the problem. We're not
Sometimes
supposed
we
to
are,
be a
but we're not
nonprofit.
supposed to be.
No. And the other thing is people need to get over guilt. Like, you're not killing anybody. You're charging a reasonable amount that it takes you to make a profit.
I was expecting Jay to jump in with that. You sounded a little bit apologetic about wanting to make a profit, and I figured I'd let Jay do the dirty work here.
I used to be apologetic. I think before, but now I'm like, let's do what I need to do.
I have years of experience talking to picture frame store owners, many of which, probably half of which, barely make a living. And this is the line you hear from them. Well, I don't want to rip anyone off. Oh, for God's sakes, we're not ripping anyone off. Here's the other one. Well, I want to be fair. There's no such thing as fair. Here's the word, appropriate. You want to charge the appropriate price. What does that mean? The appropriate price is the price that you can make a living and that your customers will pay. That's the appropriate price. There's no fair in this. There's no ripping people off. If you ask me, Jay, what is the biggest mistake you've made in business? I would tell you in 1 second. I've always been hesitant to raise prices, and it's cost me $1 zillion over the years. So I've been there myself. You got to do what you got to do.
Can't be afraid to do what's right for your business. You just can't.
All right. So we only have a few minutes left, and I want to get to the conversation that Jay has been dying to have for about 3 days. In the Morning Report this week, we ran an opinion piece from an entrepreneur that I know well named Gene Marks. He wrote, in respect to business owners who've been getting PPP money, and all three of you have, he wrote, many of us complain about government interference. We resist regulations. We avoid paying taxes. We don't want the government in our lives. Why should we? We can make it happen without anyone's help. It's a free market, for goodness sake. Just leave us alone and let us do our thing. Thank you very much. That's what I heard. That's what I've even said. Now let's flash forward. You know what I'm hearing a lot from those very same entrepreneurs, fiercely independent entrepreneurs, myself included. What I'm hearing now is, where's my government bailout check? We had our hands out for Paycheck Protection money as soon as it was available. We shamelessly begged for disaster loans and other aid. And when the money didn't come fast enough, we complained. We make up these fairy tales about our courageous entrepreneurism. We tell everyone that we're brave business owners, but we're not. We are not without the need for our own government safety net when the you-know-what hits the fan. Thoughts, anybody?
Jay?
Thank you. You left out one paragraph.
I left out several.
I know Gene. I like Gene. Gene's a nice guy. I am horrified he wrote this. If I was his editor, I could have fixed it by just taking out a couple of sentences. Here's the sentence you left out. Not all business owners I know needed a government bailout. Why? Because they know how to competently run a business. They stored away reserves for a rainy day, even a months-long monsoon like this one. They have low-maintenance lifestyles and flexible overheads. How dare he? That is the most smug, condescending, insulting, ignorant, disrespectful, and just plain mean comment. And I understand where he's coming from. Gene has fashioned his business by working out of his condo, his house, and he has a lot of contract employees, and it works for him. More power to him. But to suggest that the rest of us should figure out how to have flexible overheads and be competent to run a business, to suggest that, oh, Dana, if you were competent, you would have known to put a few $100,000 in the bank in case things went bad. And William, if you were competent, you wouldn't have had any real employees. You would have had all contract labor, and you'd be working out of your house. How dare he say that to the restaurant owners, to the hair salons, to the people that have signed leases, to the people that can't be flexible, to the people that have grown their businesses? And then to add insult to injury, he finishes it with we make up these fairy tales about our courageous entrepreneurism. We tell everyone we're brave business. Yes, we are. Yes, we provide jobs. Yes, we pay taxes. How about this one? I have paid probably $100 million in sales tax, real estate taxes, payroll taxes. I'm saying I'm thankful the government gave me the money. It helped. I don't think I would have gone out of business, but it would have been extremely difficult. But like, to use the phrase, we shamelessly begged? For God's sakes, shamelessly begged? So, yeah, I like Gene. I'm sorry that Gene didn't have an editor to catch this. I would hope he would get that perspective. I have to finish with, he wrapped himself in 24 we's in this article. We. He's not really talking about we. He's talking about us, because my guess is he didn't take the PPP, and he's sitting there on his smug ass now thinking, look how smart I am. I've got only contract employees, or mostly. I didn't have to take the PPP.
Jay, I got to stop you there. I think you're wrong about that. Actually, I know you're wrong about that. He wrote, you know what I'm hearing a lot from those very same fiercely independent entrepreneurs, myself included. Where's my government bailout check? He asked for it too. He got it too.
Okay, well, then I get the point of his article that don't complain about the government and then want their money. Okay, fair enough. Like I said, this whole thing would have been fine without those couple of sentences. I really have a problem with the competently run the business and shamelessly begged. I have a real problem with those two.
William, do you think Gene had a point?
Oh, I don't know how to figure out what's right for Gene. I'm just trying to figure out what's right for me. I mean, we've got clients that are churches that could have really benefited from PPP, but were filled with members who were small business owners. And early in the PPP, they were, is there enough money? Is there enough money? Is there enough money? And so I had pastors who felt guilty about applying for it because they might be depriving their members of money that might help their business. So I think it's a complex thing. I think Gene's piece, I mean, categorical imperatives sell, right? It must be this way. We all did this. It's just not that easy.
Generalizations are dangerous.
They are. And I think, Lauren, not to go all religious on people, but there's a line in the Old Testament scriptures, or the Jewish scriptures, however you want to read them, about these men called the sons of Issachar. And what were they known for? They were known for being able to read and understand their time. And I think that's the key for me, is what's right for our company in this time. How do I read it? How do I understand it? And I guess maybe I'm just getting dumber, but I think if there's something I would disagree with Gene's article, it's the categorical imperatives, because I just don't think they apply.
What about the phrase shamelessly begged? How do you feel about that? Do you feel you shamelessly begged for the money from the government?
I didn't beg. I filled out a form.
Yeah. Did you feel shame in it? I sure didn't.
No, not a bit.
Dana, did you feel shame? Did you feel shame getting money from the government?
No.
Okay. That's all I wanted to say.
I don't think any business owner should feel shame for taking money from the government. That said, and I think we all know this, there are a lot of business owners who have spent a lot of time disparaging the government for everything, for regulation.
No, you're right. He's right. No question.
Jay, you and I once did an event in Atlanta where I had to debate another business owner. We're talking about what the minimum wage should be. And his answer was, there shouldn't be any minimum wage. This is America. People should make it on their own. That's the way we do things here. And, I know, Jay, that you do not agree with that, but I don't think it sets you off as much as what Gene said.
No, I told you I would have been perfectly fine with this whole thing without those two phrases. They know how to competently run a business, and they without that, fair enough. Stop complaining about the government. I don't complain about the minimum wage thing. I think the government does some good stuff. I've said the SBA loans are a wonderful thing. So I totally get his point with all that. With that being said, and I'm a little worn out, I have to tell you, this got me really upset. How dare he say that?
Why did it get you so upset?
Because I'm fighting a three-front war here. And I don't even take this personally. I'm thinking of all of those entrepreneurs that are trying to run a business, trying to make happy customers, restaurants, hair salons, you know it, trying to survive this whole thing, trying to take care of the emotional, the financial, and the physical needs of fighting a good fight, trying to stay in business so they can continue paying taxes. And he comes along and has to call us shameless for taking money from the government, or this is the one that was even worse. Competently run a bit. Oh, we're incompetent because these people didn't have 6 months of savings put away.
That's how I felt when we first closed in March. And we were on the podcast and we were all talking and I said, I just don't know what I'm going to do. Part of me not knowing what to do was me sitting there reflecting over the fact of all that I hadn't done. And part of the reason why I thought about closing is because if I didn't have 3 to 6 months reserve in the bank, what type of business owner am I? If I can't, if I need the help, right? And so I spoke with my mentor who owns several companies whose revenue is in hundreds of millions of dollars. And he said, so I guess I'm a failure. I've been in business over 30 years. And I said, oh gosh, no, you're, and he goes, well, I need the PPP. And I'm going to take that EIDL too. And I said, well, why? He said, because anybody who has hundreds of thousands of dollars saved up and is a competent business owner is reinvesting that money in the business. That's it.
And he's not a journalist. If he was a journalist, maybe I'd cut him some slack and go, he doesn't understand. Just remember the world I'm living in, the world we're all living in. For these entrepreneurs are drowning, are afraid they're going to lose their business. And he's got to finish it up with, we tell everyone that we're brave business pioneers, but we're not. No, we are.
And on that note, we are out of time. My thanks to Dana White, to William Vanderbloemen, and to Jay Goltz. Be careful out there. Thanks for listening, everybody. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Remember, we started the 21 Hats podcast to help business owners feel a little less isolated, to let them know they aren't the only ones fighting these battles. If you got something out of this conversation, please help us reach more people. Tell a friend, subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at 21_hats. And let me know if you have a question or a comment or a topic you'd like us to cover. My email address is lfeldman@21hats.com. See you next time.